Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Teen Talk Central. In this week's episode, we're talking all about how to rebuild and reconnect some old friendships that may have fizzled out from the past. This is something that I'm really passionate about, and I feel like something that we haven't really talked about yet on this podcast. So if this is something that you're interested or something that you just want to learn more about, then continue listening to this week's episode. Hey guys, it's Mia, and I'm super excited for this week's kind of topic because this is something that I've actually been thinking about for a while, because I feel like on this podcast we talk a lot about like friendship breakups and like kind of like figuring out when is the best time to stop being friends with someone or stuff like that, but I feel like we haven't really talked about how there's actually like a way for you to potentially become friends with people who once maybe pushed you away or something. Because from my personal experience, I've definitely had some people that I like don't really talk to or like have pushed away, or they've pushed me away, and we've kind of like later matured and then figure out a way to come back together. And I just want this to be more of like an advice episode, just like to give everyone like a glimmer of hope that like the person that once like pushed you away or you pushed away, if you guys can kind of like talk through something, you guys can actually come together and like work out your differences. So I kind of want to like set you guys the scene a little bit. So personally for me, I have I've always been kind of like iffy about, you know, the people that I do like let into my life and stuff. But I think something I have learned a lot is that people can change, especially in high school. Like, high school is literally the time for change. And if you don't change during high school, I think you probably haven't, like, kind of fully taken advantage of high school. I think when people come into school, they are one person. And when they leave, they should hopefully be a completely different person. But I kind of want to talk about how, first, obviously, it kind of hurts to be pushed away from someone, or if you feel like you have to push yourself away from someone else, because obviously like you probably put in a lot of trust and vulnerability and maybe self-worth into this place, and then obviously like it's kind of going away because maybe they're distancing themselves from you or you're distancing yourselves from them, and it can definitely be a really hard time, and I definitely want to acknowledge that. And like some people are just meant to kind of be that way and kind of just stay as those types of people, but then there is kind of another angle that you can look at it as, like it's kind of a time for you guys to heal and then come together later. I've really learned that it's like kind of like being friends with anyone is just an emotional roller coaster. Like you never really know what's gonna come next. Some days you guys can be like really good, and other days maybe you don't talk at all, and then like you slowly come back together with people. For me, I've just kind of like I've learned that like I've also changed throughout high school, and I just kind of like see how other people are towards me. Like if I think that, you know, if someone is trying to like reach out again and be friends again, obviously I will give them that another opportunity, because everybody does deserve a second chance. But you also just have to make sure that they're also ready. I think sometimes people mistake certain signs and other people are just not ready for that, and you kind of have to, you just have to wait for this perfect opportunity. And I think there's this theory of like attachment with people. I think people get really attached and then they don't want to let go, but once they do let go, then it's really hard for them to kind of like come back together, because again there's this loss of trust. So I feel that when you push someone away to protect yourself and you kind of look back at all your life experiences, you can use that to kind of grow. But I think before you kind of like jump all back into something, you just have to make sure that like, is this a connection that you truly want or you truly value and wish for? Because if not, if it's kind of like one-sided and just the other person wants to be friends with you, then you definitely have to think like, okay, like she wants to be friends with me or he wants to be friends with me, but I'm not sure if I really want to be friends, then you should kind of probably look at it from a different perspective. But I think the shift that you need can make people ready to connect on later. And I'm not saying that you have to be friends with that person within a year again. Absolutely not. That's honestly wild. It's probably more of 1 to 2 year maybe. Like for me, for the people that I have like kind of slowly started to reconnect with, it's definitely taking me like a year to 2 years, because we've both fully changed before I was able to kind of like come back and try to have a relationship with them. But it's all just a matter of time, and if you want this connection back, or do you want this connection back, or are you just kind of like chasing some sort of closure? Because I think that can be very different. Yeah. I think some questions that I always ask myself when I'm going through this is, do I have to set certain boundaries with this person? For example, I've learned that I cannot be friends with I can't be close friends with certain types of people, but I still like want to be friends with them. I still want to be civil enough with them, especially like if you have class with them and stuff. So whether that's just talking to them in class and asking them how their weekend is, I think that can honestly make like a huge difference. And also just like, what does forgiveness look like for you? Do you need that to move forward, or are you just kind of fine like understanding that you're on the same plate? Because for me, I definitely think that I need closure with certain people before I move on with them, and others, it's okay. I don't need a full apology from them. So that's kind of like up to your choice. So just some healthy kind of reminders on ways to rebuild a friendship is just start small. Do not rush deep trust right away. Like, do not expect them to kind of be right back to where you left off. Absolutely not. Like, trust takes time to build. I can literally talk hours and hours about trust and why I think trust is so important. But you also just have to make sure you're communicating. I think that's with anything. Communication is so important, and if you don't have that, you literally have nothing. And then also just like recognizing the differences that you've both had, and just making sure to fully acknowledge that before you move forward. I think that's really important if you do want some of that closure. If it's someone that you don't fully need closure with, then I think it's okay. Yeah. And I think everyone is valid for a second chance, because everyone's human, everyone makes mistakes, and if you can't accept mistakes, then you're gonna have a really hard time in this life. And I've had to forgive a lot of people, and I'm sure some people have had to forgive me. So it's just kind of like, it's all up to you at the end of the day. And I don't know, it's just you have to connect with yourself and be secure in yourself before you can ever do anything else. And also just remember that reconnecting doesn't completely erase the past, but it can open doors for new opportunities. But also just have like certain benchmarks or like check marks within yourself that are like, okay, like they did this, I just have to remember that they could potentially do something like this. Not saying that they will do it again, but you can't be surprised if someone potentially backstabs you again. And also just remember that growth is completely possible on both sides. Growth does not have to be one-sided. I feel like sometimes people do forget that. And yeah, I just want to kind of wrap up with just like remembering that relationships, friendships, and like romantic ones are completely complicated, but every step will teach you something new about yourself. So just reflect on whether you'd want to be someone who welcomes people back, or you just want to be someone that's kind of closed off and someone who pushes people away, which I don't think we want to be. So always reflect and just like figure out what you really want. And I love you guys so much. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share with a friend, or comment your favorite part of this episode and any tips and tricks that you might have for other people. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.